about it. So for all of you guys who might not know this, Sophie Cunningham took to Instagram today, and this was by far the most convincing. This has been the most convincing post I've seen all year long to let me know Stephanie White and the Fever, they don't like Caitlin Clark. Hell no, they don't like her at all.
That Instagram post didn't just get fans talking. It validated what many have been speculating about all along. Sophie Cunningham wasn't merely posting a harmless meme. She may have unintentionally pulled back the curtain on the Indiana Fever's coaching decisions. And if her message means what people think it does, the fallout is enormous. This wasn't simply a veteran player joking around online. It was a subtle confirmation that the Fever's game-winning play against the Phoenix Mercury was never intended for Caitlin Clark. Instead, the initial option was Kelsey Mitchell. But when Mitchell failed to create separation, Sophie reacted in the moment and put the ball in Clark's hands. Take a second to process what that suggests. With only 0.4 of a second remaining, Indiana's coaching staff designed a final possession that bypassed the rookie transforming the league. The same player shattering attendance records across the WNBA. The same star averaging 28 points per game through her first 3 contests after returning from the Olympic break. The same playmaker who became the quickest player in league history to reach 200 assists. Yet in Stephanie White's late-game strategy, Caitlin Clark was apparently treated as the secondary option.
Graham, she took time to reflect. And when I tell you reflect, she reflected on last night's game. Now, Sophie captioned this: "Your life seems so fun. Thanks, my family used to have a conversation of how to deal with me." Now, this is Sophie Cunningham. Caitlin is soonly definitely posted this. Caitlin said, "Love you, Soph. Twin. Crazy that you cropped me out." But watch this. That's David Mills. Shout out to David Mills, man. He be in here in St. Louis with First Form.
Now, let's examine exactly what Sophie shared, because every piece of the story carries weight. The Instagram carousel initially appears completely ordinary. There are photos of Sophie alongside Lexi Hull before tip-off, snapshots from warm-ups with Sophie flashing her signature playful energy, and the kind of routine game day content fans see all the time. But then comes a slide that's ignited all the discussion online. It's a broadcast screenshot capturing Sophie inbounding the ball to Caitlin Clark for the game-winning shot. The caption attached to it reads, "Didn't stick to the plan. Worth it. We might have improvised. Oops." Then she doubles down with another post. This time, it's a fan-made meme featuring Stephanie White wearing a stunned expression. Sophie's response to that image? You followed the right plan. There's nothing vague about these messages. She's essentially telling everyone that she abandoned the original strategy in that crucial moment. The implication is that the coaching staff intended for Kelsey Mitchell to be the primary option, but Sophie made a split-second choice to alter the outcome of the play. What elevates this entire situation is Sophie's reputation for being direct. She's proudly from Missouri, the show-me state, and has repeatedly shown that she's willing to speak openly about what's happening behind the scenes. This isn't someone known for protecting narratives just to preserve appearances. When questions surface about the reported 2-hour team meeting that Christie sides allegedly prefer to keep private, Sophie addressed it. When concerns emerged regarding defensive breakdowns, she provided detailed explanations. And now, in the middle of this latest controversy surrounding the Fever's late-game execution, Sophie appears to have offered what many fans view as undeniable proof.
Won anyway, 78-76. Sophie Cunningham has confirmed that this play right here was not designed for Caitlin. So all of us that thought we was tripping and was like, hold on, let's watch the play right now. This is such a profound moment, man. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm ecstatic with this. So this is the play right here. Let's pull it up. So let's start it over. So this is the play.
Let's revisit that final sequence with this new perspective, because it completely changes how the play can be interpreted. The Fever trailed 78-76 with just 0.4 of a second left on the clock, and Sophie Cunningham was preparing to inbound from the sideline Pay close attention to Kelsey Mitchell's movement. She makes an aggressive cut to her right, working hard to shake free from her defender. There's urgency in the way she moves because, based on everything that's been suggested, she believes the play is meant for her. She's anticipating that pass. But the problem becomes obvious almost immediately. Mitchell's defender doesn't lose contact. The passing window never truly opens. And Sophie is suddenly racing against the referee's 5-second count. With virtually no time to hesitate, she adjusts. She shifts her focus and spots Caitlin Clark positioned near the perimeter with just enough room to receive the ball and get a shot off. Sophie delivers a pass. Clark secures it, turns, rises, and releases. The shot drops. Fever victory. But then comes another moment that has fueled even more discussion. Watch Kelsey Mitchell's reaction after the basket falls. She turns quickly, extremely quickly, and many fans have pointed to her body language as being particularly revealing, rather than an immediate explosion of celebration. Some interpret it as a response to the player recognizing that the possession unfolded differently than expected. From that viewpoint, Mitchell may have believed she was the intended option, with the coaching staff designing the play around her before Sophie made a split-second decision to go in another direction.
There's been so much attention around Caitlin Clark this season in terms of not just her play and how she's coming back from injury in year 3, but how she's handling some emotional moments in high-pressure situations and her leadership. And you know what it's like to be a franchise player. You know what it's like to win. You know what it's like to play at the highest level. What does that development stage look like for a franchise player at that level?
It's tough. It's tough because you're actually a franchise player. You're carrying a franchise. And to be honest,
this is where the conversation expands beyond a single possession, because Sophie's Instagram post may represent the strongest indication we've had all season that there's a real disconnect between the Indiana Fever's coaching philosophy and the role Caitlin Clark occupies within this organization. Think about the implications for a moment. When the game is on the line and you're drawing up a final play, choosing another player over a once-in-a-generation talent suggests that you may not truly view that star as your unquestioned first option. And that's what so many fans find difficult to understand. This is an argument against Kelsey Mitchell's abilities because she's an outstanding player in her own right. She's averaging 19 points per game and remains one of the league's most dynamic shot creators. But Caitlin Clark has become the driving force behind the Fever's unprecedented surge in popularity. She's the reason more than 17,000 fans consistently fill the arena. She's a major factor behind local television ratings skyrocketing compared to previous seasons. She's helped transform ticket demand to the point where the franchise reached historic milestones in sales and fan engagement. When a player carries that level of impact both on and off the court, many believe a decisive possession of a close game should run through her. Experience, seniority, and years in the league become secondary considerations when you have a player capable of changing the outcome in an instant. You trust your best player with the biggest moment and accept whatever follows. And if Caitlin Clark truly wasn't the first choice in that situation, it raises important questions about how Stephanie White and this coaching staff evaluate her role within the team's hierarchy.
Elevated a league. So I know there's a lot of pressure on Caitlin, and I know she's not always reacting in the way she would want to. But, I give her grace. Honestly, I give her grace because I've been in that situation. I've been in a situation where everything is on your shoulders and you don't feel like you're getting a call or and I've reacted different ways. But the difference is I didn't have all the cameras on me. I didn't have everybody watching my every move. And so, it's a little, bittersweet sometimes, but I expect Caitlin to make the adjustment. Just like she did in her rookie season. She made the adjustment. She's going to make the adjustment.
Now, let's shift our attention to Cynthia Cooper's remarks because they add an important layer of perspective to this entire discussion. Cooper understands what Caitlin Clark is experiencing in a way very few people can. She's a 4-time WNBA champion, a 2-time league MVP, and someone who knows firsthand what it means to carry the expectations of an entire franchise. What's especially compelling about her assessment is that she's offering Clark both empathy and accountability. Cooper acknowledges that Clark hasn't always handled certain moments the way she might prefer. She's referring to the technical fouls, the visible displays of frustration, and those instances where Clark's emotions seem to overpower her usual composure. But Cooper's larger message is rooted in experience because she's lived through similar pressures herself. She understands the burden that comes with being the face of a team and the responsibility that follows every performance. The major difference, as Cooper points out, is the unprecedented spotlight surrounding Clark. Previous stars weren't forced to navigate every game knowing that countless cameras were documenting each reaction in real time. Clark operates under a level of scrutiny that's difficult to comprehend. Every eye roll, every animated conversation with officials, every visible sign of disappointment is captured, replayed, dissected, and debated by millions of viewers across social media and traditional media alike. That's a challenge unique to this era, and particularly intense in Clark's case. Still, Cooper remains optimistic about how this story unfolds. She believes Clark will adapt and mature through these experiences, just as she did during her rookie season, when she faced criticism and relentless attention. But in this current moment, Cooper suggests that the enormous weight of those expectations is undeniably affecting her.
Forward. I know the pressure is on her right now and she feels like it's smothering her, but it will get better. It'll get better, it'll get easier, and her game will rise to the top because that's what cream does. It rises to the top, and she's going to get over this tough moment right now.
Shout out to In Case You Missed Your podcast. Now, when I was on live set last night, somebody said Caitlin Clark isn't Michael Jordan. She isn't Larry Bird. She isn't Tiger Woods. But the right analogy and comparison of player is that Caitlin Clark is none other than baseball.
And that burden only becomes heavier when situations like this late-game controversy enter the picture. Consider everything Caitlin Clark could be processing right now. She just delivered a game-winning basket with only 0.4 of a second remaining, the kind of moment athletes dream about their entire careers. Under normal circumstances, she'd simply be enjoying the celebration and embracing the excitement of coming through for her team when it mattered most. Instead, she's confronted with the possibility, through a teammate's social media activity, that the play wasn't originally intended for her at all, that she was merely the alternative option, that if Kelsey Mitchell had managed to break free, the opportunity never would have landed in her hands. Imagine how difficult that realization might be from a player's perspective. You're helping transform the trajectory of an entire franchise. You're a major reason arenas are packed night after night, and fan interest has reached levels the organization has never experienced before. You're driving unprecedented attention, merchandise demand, and national conversation around the team. Yet when the defining possession of the game arrives, the coaching staff appears to place its confidence elsewhere. Fair or unfair, that's the interpretation many people have drawn from Stephanie White's decision-making in that moment. And Sophie's social media posts have only intensified that discussion. At this point, supporters argue that the conversation has moved beyond assumptions, speculation, or overanalyzing reactions on the court. Based on Sophie's own comments, the original action seemingly centered around Kelsey Mitchell. Sophie adjusted in real time. Caitlin Clark got the opportunity, and the shot that followed secured the victory.
I am here to tell you, for all the people that not and don't believe Sophie Cunningham is riding for Caitlin Clark, I'm going to tell you, that's just not true. Now, last week we heard Sophie Cunningham spill the beans about it all, man. Oh, yes, we're only running one style of defense. Oh, and did I forget to mention we had a 2-hour meeting as well? Now, I can't tell you what the meeting was about, but just know we had one. Now, when Kelsey Mitchell came to the podium, she was like, damn, how y'all know we had a meeting today? Oh, thanks to Sophie. She's telling all the beans. Sophie don't give a damn. Sophie is addressing the media like it's the State of the Union. I ain't lying. Sophie is for the people. You want to know why Sophie's like that? Because she's a Midwest girl. She's from my home state of Missouri. And y'all know this is the show me state. So we gonna show you everything.
Let's take a step back and examine the broader pattern, because this latest debate surrounding the Fever's late game strategy may be part of a much larger conversation. Throughout the ongoing Caitlin Clark storyline, Sophie Cunningham has arguably been one of the most candid voices involved. She was the player who publicly referenced a reported 2-hour team meeting that many believed wasn't meant to become a major talking point. She also openly discussed the team's offensive approach, explaining that relying on a single system wasn't sustainable and that adjustments were necessary. And now, Through her social media activity, she's added fuel to the perception that the coaching staff didn't prioritize their biggest star in a defining moment. So why has Sophie been so willing to speak openly? The simple explanation is the one she often jokes about herself. She's from Missouri, the show-me state, and she's not interested in hiding what she sees. But some observers believe there could be additional layers to consider. Before the season, Sophie agreed to a contract extension, and reports later surfaced suggesting there was disappointment regarding the financial terms involved. At the same time, she's witnessing Caitlin Clark secure major endorsement opportunities, while also watching Clark's arrival reshape the business side of the league through increased ratings, packed arenas, and heightened national attention. That reality has led some fans to wonder whether Sophie views Clark's success as something that could elevate opportunities for players across the WNBA. From that perspective, if the Fever fail to maximize Clark's unique abilities or hesitate to structure their offense around her strengths, it could potentially limit the momentum currently driving the league's growth. And if that momentum slows, the financial upside that many players hope to benefit from in future negotiations might not reach the heights it otherwise could.
She isn't Larry Bird, she isn't Tiger Woods, but the right analogy and comparison of player is that Caitlin Clark is none other than baseball legend Babe Ruth. And I really got to thinking, and I say, damn, she brought the world to the game. Exactly what Babe Ruth did in the 1920s and 1930s of his baseball.
What makes this entire discussion so significant is that it extends far beyond one late-game possession. It raises larger questions about the Indiana Fever's future and how they intend to maximize the limited years they have with Caitlin Clark under her rookie contract. Eventually, Clark will have choices. She could remain in Indiana and continue building something special with the organization, but she'll also possess the leverage that comes with being one of the most influential athletes in the sport. If a franchise player doesn't feel fully embraced by an organization's vision, difficult decisions can follow. That's why some fans believe moments like this matter. If the Fever continue approaching Clark as one important piece rather than the foundation everything revolves around, it naturally invites questions about long-term commitment and organizational direction. This controversy surrounding the final play represents a much broader philosophical debate about identity, priorities, and leadership. Even if Sophie Cunningham never intended to spark this level of scrutiny, her social media activity has intensified a conversation the franchise may eventually have to address directly. The Fever's actions moving forward will reveal whether they truly intend to construct their future around Clark's unique abilities or whether they envision a more balanced approach that differs from how much of the basketball world views her impact. In many ways, the comparison to Babe Ruth illustrates the point. Ruth didn't merely excel within baseball's existing structure. He transformed the way audiences engage with the sport. He attracted casual viewers who weren't necessarily invested in the finer details of strategy, but wanted to witness something extraordinary. Many supporters believe Clark is creating a similar effect in women's basketball. She's introducing entirely new audiences to the WNBA, fans who may not understand every offensive set or defensive rotation, but are captivated by her deep shooting range, her creativity as a passer, and the passion she brings to competition. Because of that, some argue that the Fever shouldn't simply ask Clark to adapt to an established framework. Instead, they should allow their system to evolve around the skills that have helped redefine interest in the league. Sophie's Instagram posts, in that context, have become more than social media content. To many observers, they've highlighted a potential disconnect between the talent Indiana possesses and the way that talent is being utilized. The fact that Sophie appeared comfortable sharing those posts publicly has only added to the intrigue, leading some to believe these conversations have existed behind closed doors for quite some time, whether that's transparency, personality, or simply Sophie's way of communicating. The result has been unprecedented insight into a team navigating enormous expectations. According to this interpretation, we've seen examples of strategic decisions that don't always place Clark at the center, improvisation from players when circumstances demand it, and victories achieved through adaptability rather than strict adherence to the original blueprint. The Mercury game-winning sequence has become the ultimate symbol of that debate because a decisive moment emerged from an adjustment made in real time. That leaves the Fever facing important questions moving forward. Stephanie White will likely continue shaping and explaining her philosophy regarding shot selection and late-game execution. The front office will have to determine exactly what building around Caitlin Clark means in practice, not just in theory. And Clark herself will eventually decide what she wants from the next chapter of her career. For now, Sophie's Instagram activity remains part of the public record, fueling discussions about trust, hierarchy, and vision within the organization. Cynthia Cooper expressed confidence that true greatness ultimately rises above adversity, and many believe Clark will continue doing exactly that through record-breaking performances, sold-out arenas, and a lasting impact on the sport's economic landscape. The larger question is whether the Indiana Fever will evolve alongside that transformation or continue operating in ways that invite uncertainty about their direction. If nothing changes, some fans may look back on moments like this as early warning signs. But if adjustments are made, this could instead be remembered as a turning point that helped define the next era of Fever basketball. Share your thoughts below. Should Caitlin Clark be the automatic first option in situations like these, or was designing the play differently the right basketball decision? And what do you think this reveals about Indiana's long-term plans for its franchise cornerstone? Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.